Hello everybody, welcome back to the Mindful Physiology series. Today I'm going to talk about the immune system. But before I start talking about that system, I just want to recall that one of the main intentions of this series is to bring another tool for self-discovery and inner knowing. So through mindful physiology, we can know more about who we are, what we are made of, understanding a little bit what the science teaches and what we know until now. But also, when we go deeper and try to see what the body teaches us, it really helps us as a tool for self-inquiry and bringing self-awareness into our body, but also developing gratitude and a sense of awe and admiration for everything that the body is able to do. Sometimes when we learn the concepts with all the complexity and with all the terminology that science use, we get lost into the mind, and then we are not able to admire the simple fact that we are made out of trillions of cells, and those cells are doing each of them a particular function. So I just wanted to bring this back again so we can go through this episode with this mindset of recognizing the little details, every little new detail that you find that you probably didn't know. Then bring that back into your awareness and your capacity to admire yourself, love yourself more. And from there, actually, kind of developing and believing again in your body and in the capacity of the body to heal itself. Most of the cases when the conditions are not very critical. So this mindful physiology helps us also to recognize and believe in our bodies. So we are more confident when we get an illness, and we can manage that mentally better and be in a better state to go through any transition or illness or disorder in the body. So today's topic is the immune system. When I started thinking and reviewing information about this system in the body, there is a common thing that appears in the terminology that is used in the medical practice and by science. So the immune system always has been seen as the defense system of the body. And when science look at this system as a defense system, always when it tries to use metaphors to describe how the system works, it usually uses words of war. So fighting a disease, killing the bacteria. It describes that our body is full of cells, that they are like soldiers, like a full army, like an arsenal of weapons. So this is very common when you go in Google and look for the immune system and go and try to understand it metaphorically. You always find this out there. And I was reflecting because for many years, for me as well, that was the understanding. And if I wanted to think in that system, I immediately reflect on this killing bacteria, and it's my defense. I have to strengthen this system in order to defend myself against others. But then I reflect at that from one side, from the medical practice, is really narrowing the real physiological functions of the immune system, because the immune system doesn't only defend us, but also brings this position of ourselves that as if life is a fight, as as if always we have to be defending ourselves. And I really think that this is not the case. I think this is a system that is here to support us, but not as if life is difficult and is a fight. So I prefer to use the word protection. So it's a system that protects us from invaders that are outside, or also invaders that are created inside of my body for bad habits, or from my mental formations that they are destructive and they cause damage in the immune system. So it's a system of protection, and all the strategies we have to use to make it and support it is bringing tools to protect us. Also, because if you for a moment think in the word defense and try to defend yourself against something from outside, I feel that my body closes. I'm like in defense mode. I close my heart, I close everything. I don't want anything to touch me. I don't want anyone to talk to me because everything will hit me. Rather than using or seeing the immune system as a system of protection, then it makes me feel open because I know I am protected. And with that protection, I can go outside and meet everybody and be in different places and be in the mud, be in the sea, be in the hot weather, be in the cold weather, because I know I'm protected. So this is like the first message I want to bring today, how we see this system. And when we're thinking how to support, we are gonna support this system that is kind, or I want to do the metaphor as our mother, the first years of our life since we are born. This caring, this sense of caring and protection from anything that is gonna harm us when we are babies, all this work and effort that our mother does, all her energy into us, this is the immune system that we have. So we have our own mother inside of us taking care of our mother. So this is the place where I want to talk today about the system. Also because I got inspired by reading how the antibodies work. The antibodies, as we will see in a couple of minutes, is they are cells that what they do when they are facing the pathogen or the anti-agent is to neutralize the effect. It doesn't destroy or kill it, but neutralize the effect. And that immediately took me back into the martial arts, because originally the martial arts were created and is a practice for inner development and strengthening the mind. It uses the body as the first practice, as the first training to start making the connection body-mind, and then through exercises we manage to move and master our minds with many years of practice. But the intention of the martial arts is not defense, it's protection if something happens from outside, but mainly the ultimate objective is to master the mind. So that is as well another way we can compare the immune system with. In one end, we have the view that is like an army of defense, but we can see it also better like an art, like the martial arts, to master the mind and protect ourselves from any invader from outside, or from our own invaders, our own dragons. Okay, so in this session, what I want to cover is first we go into an awareness practice for the immune system, then very brief description in how the physical immune system works, and then a very interesting aspect that if we have a physical immune system, then we have also a mental, psychological, and even a spiritual immune system. So in the third part of the video, I'm gonna focus in that. What is that psychological immune system? How it affects us, and how is the illnesses in our psychological immune system, how they reflect in immune conditions, most commonly related like autoimmune diseases, which are really a big concern now in the world because they are increasing as any other chronic condition. But maybe if we start seeing the things from this connection body-mind, we can find some tools that really help us to understand the roots of my own immune condition, and then practicing some or using other tools or practicing some other techniques to master my mind, and from my mind I can support my immune system. So let's start, and this is a practice, an awareness practice for the immune system. We start with that. So first we sit down with our back up straight, feeling supported with the feet touching the ground or cross-legged in the best position and comfortable position that you find. And start taking a deep breath in and exhale. Another deep breath in, exhale. Another breath in, exhale. With this deep breath in and a slow exhale, we are telling the brain to relax. This is one of the ways we can talk directly with our brain and give them an order. Relax. The breathing is very powerful tool that help us to connect with our brain. Now, from that state of relaxation, just bring your awareness to the area above the upper lip and below the nostril. Bring your attention there and start feeling how the air is coming in, how the air is leaving out. Do not force your breathing now. Just notice your natural rhythm of breathing in this particular moment. If you find easier to focus in the point, you can just place your index finger in that little area above the upper lip and below the nostril, and feel the warmth of the air. Coming in and coming out. From that state, now just bring your awareness to one moment in your life when you felt protected. Maybe something that happened when you were a child, maybe you were a teenager, maybe it has been now as an adult. Just bring that memory now. You feel protected, you feel safe at that point. Visualize that moment and now try to capture what was around. How old were you? Who was with you? Were you indoors, outdoors? Were you in the nature? In a mountain, near a river? Maybe you were at your office. Maybe you were in a celebration, in a party. Maybe you were having dinner alone or with someone. Just bring one memory when you feel protected, supported, and safe. Now bring your attention back to your body and notice where this feeling of protection is felt in your body. Where do you feel it? It is in your head, maybe in your lungs, maybe in your stomach, in your gut, in your womb, or in your testes, in your legs, in your arms. Where in your body do you feel this protection, safety? Know at this point that this great feeling of protection is inviting your body, and because of that, you are helping and supporting your immune system. Your immune system is inside of you, always ready to protect you. And now you are helping your immune system with this wonderful memory of protection. Be for a moment thankful and feel gratitude for this body and the trillions of cells that are located all around your body, and they are ready to act when there is an invader. Feel your immune system in this moment. Feel the support of your immune system. Now take your hand, any left or right hand, and bring your hand to the place in the body when you felt the most this protection. Whatever it was, if it was the heart or the lungs or the upper body, the medium, low body, bring to that particular area your hand and take some breathings there. Use this energy that you have generated for spreading protection all around your body. Feel how it expands from that particular area to everywhere in the body, creating a layer of protection, but also the feeling of openness and security. So you can go out to the world and interact freely with the world. Now bring back to your attention to the breathing in the nose. Focusing your breath going in, your breath going out. Breathe in, breathe out. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you for your company during this awareness practice. This is a very good way to protect ourselves when we are leaving home and we don't know what happened, if we are coming back or not in the evening. Just bringing this protection, but this sense of openness as well. So we can meet everything and everyone and everything that happened to us, we can meet that with openness. And we can take out the best, the essence of what life is telling us, and we can discard the rest. So I will start then, as I mentioned, and what is the physical immune system? A very general level. So again, as all the systems is made up of a complex network of organs, cells, and proteins. Some proteins that are made during the immune response are quite key in the process of destruction and of the pathogens that come in our body. So there are some elements of the immune system, although it's very connected with the rest of the systems that we have talked until now in the previous episodes. So it's quite difficult to separate, but if we can number or list some of the elements of the immune system, we have white cells, we have proteins, as I said, we had some organs that are the ones that produce those white cells. We have the thymus, as we review in the lymphatic system episode, that the thymus plays a huge role in creating some particular cells that they are called T cells, that they destroy the pathogens when they attack our bodies. We have the spleen as well, playing a major role in the immune system. We have the liver as well. And we have the bone marrow that we talk about in the episode of the structural system. So in the structural system, we mentioned that we have our bones, and inside of the bone, there is a substance called the bone marrow, and that is highly responsible to produce white cells in our body. So if we see the immune system as the lymphatic system, as the circulatory system, is all spread around the body and is highly interconnected with all other systems. And here I'm going to mention the functions. So as I said before, the functions of the immune system is not only to defend us from invaders. Now we change the word and we said first function is to protect us, but then also after an infection happen in our body, there is a lot of tissue that has been damaged. So the immune system, after the infection, starts sending cells to start the reparation of the tissue in the body. So this is another very important role that it has this system. Is also able to detect if after an infection there are cells, normal cells in our body that has been infected. So it creates a mechanism to kill those cells and to avoid all the infection again to spread around our body. But it also plays a big role in something that at least I was not very aware of, or I don't bring enough attention every day in my life about this system, and it's its capacity to keep scanning our cells in the body and find out if there are cancerous cells, so the immune system destroy them on time and we don't develop a cancer. So this is a very crucial one. So it's a system that is not ready to assist only when there is a problem, there is an invader, there is a pathogen in our body, but is also scanning all the time and cleaning, removing any bacteria that is harmful for our body. And there is already also there is something very important function which I find it really remarkable and profound of what we can teach from this system, and is that it has the capacity to produce some cells in the moment of the infection. So those cells, which are called like the memory cells, are able to store the information about this particular pathogen and keep that in the backup of our life for whenever we get this pathogen in the future again. This is something that I find really something to admire and honor, this capacity of having a memory and store everything that has entered or invaded our bodies throughout our lives and create like our own library of pathogens and mechanisms for defend, protect us against the pathogens. So this is one, the other important function of this one. So talking more specifically about how the immune system works. So the first one is that it has some physical and chemical barriers, and it has these barriers just to prevent anything to come inside. The first barrier, physical, is the skin. So all the skin, the purpose of the skin, the having a skin in our body is to protect us against pathogens. So the pathogens don't go and touch the blood and then circulate all around our body. This is the wonderful feature of the skin. And here I just want to call attention of the importance of which kind of products we use when we clean our body, when we hydrate our body. If we use body lotions, creams, sunscreens, any kind of scrub, anything that we put in our skin is going through, the skin has a barrier, of course, but if we intentionally are applying something years after years with toxins, which are the ones that call, like that, produced with chemicals to preserve those creams or those lotions, all those chemicals or those emulsifiers, synthetic emulsifiers that they come in the creams, they really can penetrate our skin because we do intentionally every day apply in our body, and they can have a huge impact in our health in terms of toxicity. So it's something very important in how we can support the immune system. Do not put anything that is produced in a company in our bodies. Only the things that you can eat are the same that you can apply it in your body. The second physical barrier is the mucus, and is like in that with the texture in the main gates of our body. So one of the main gates is our respiratory tract. So that is why it's full of mucus, and the intention of that mucus is to encapsulate and trap the pathogens to avoid further damage. And then we can get pathogens through food, and that is why the gastrointestinal tract is full of mucus as well, to trap that, encapsulate, and allow them to go further. But there are as well some chemical barriers that produce our body to destroy the pathogens. One is the hydrochloric acid in the stomach. If some food managed to reach the stomach, then there is an acid there that destroys that. The other one is like the lysozyme that is produced in the tears and in the sweat. So everything that try to reach, go inside our eyes or through the places where we sweat, that the sweat has this chemical and release the pathogen. And the other one is the lactic acid, which is found in the vagina, which is another gate that we have from where we can get infections. So this is in terms of the barriers that the system has. But what happens when a pathogen enters through, break those barriers? So then there are some mechanism of the body to start defending the body against that pathogen. So if the pathogen is not very harmful, is something very mild, it will enter the body, and in the place it enters, then there is in this area innate located immune system that will start creating cells to destroy this pathogen. And here there is a nice process I want to bring. I'm not going to focus too much in the names. I usually forget the names of the things, but for this one probably I will use these terms. One is the phagocytosis, which is the process by which a special cell eats the pathogen, encapsulates the pathogen inside the cell, and the pathogen there, it cannot go out, it cannot make more harm outside. And the cell is able to start producing a particular enzyme, and that enzyme will start destroying the pathogen inside. I find this amazing how it is. And not also that, but also because after the destruction there will be some compounds and substances from that pathogen, it start breaking everything down and transforming that into something that is harmless. It can go now, expel from the cell, and then leave our body. So this, I wanted just to highlight this particular process, phagocytosis, because this is like how the immune system works. Trap the viruses, pathogens, bacteria, and then destroy them inside through chemical action, actually, because it's by the help of enzymes. But what happened, this is the case when this cell is able to destroy the couple of pathogens that, the thousands of pathogens that enter, and is able to do it. The process ends there, and there nothing major happen, and there is no need to use anything else. But if the infection is quite acute, the pathogen is quite strong and coming to our body, and these cells, the special cells, which are called macrophages, are not able to destroy the pathogen, Then now what happened is that the cell sends like a red alarm asking to all the body, I need help, and releases another chemical called cytokines, which is a protein. And what they do is to create inflammation in the area that is infected. So you might notice many times when you have an infection that one of the symptoms is inflammation. And it does that to start triggering all the different processes in the body for the immune system to recruit cells from everywhere in the body and bring them to the place. When the inflammation happens, that inflammation itself start creating more cytokines, more of these cells, and then more inflammation and more inflammation. It's like a systemic inflammation response. Very clever, the body, how it does this. It produces itself this inflammation. And remember that this inflammation is just a signal to recruit all the goodness in our body to come and help us to destroy this bacteria. Mm? So this is one way in how it happens. Then also something very interesting is that then during this process of inflammation where many things happen, vasodilatation, activation of the clotting system in the body. So if there is a big injury, we don't lose all the blood. So immediately this inflammation helps to the blood to start coagulated. And so many other processes happen at the same time, like in an emergency. And also one of the things that it does is to send some message to the brain, telling the brain to increase the temperature, to lose the appetite, and to be and make the body in lethargy. And why it does that? Very clever as well, because when the temperature increases, when we experience fever, when we have a cold, for example, that fever, that increase in temperature, some pathogens cannot resist those temperatures. So this is a mechanism of the body to destroy by temperature the pathogens. Then the next one that happens is that we lose appetite and we feel lethargy. And that is a strategy from the body, the brain directing all these processes to make us feel tired. So we immediately turn all our attention to defend, to protect ourselves from the different pathogens, and we don't waste the energy in digesting food or doing other activities. And that is why it's very crucial at the very beginning of the infection, just allow the body to do the work that it has to do, to send all the energy to the infected area. And that is why we have to take rest, especially during the first days of infection. The more energy is sent and the more cells are recruited to go there to the infected area, then the recovery will be quicker and the situation won't worse and worse with the days. So part of the invitation here, after distilling the intention of having a fever, of losing the appetite and becoming lethargic without no energy at all, is that next time that we have a cold or a flu and we experience these symptoms, we embrace the fever. We don't fight against the fever, but we embrace and say thank you because you are trying to destroy my pathogens. And we embrace the tiredness, and we embrace the fact that we don't want to eat. There will be later time to eat and time and energy to spend in that process, but not now. So when we understand that what the body is doing is for our good, then when we are sick, we can support the body mentally, knowing that this has to happen, that we have to be in bed, and that fever, we have to allow the fever to do the work and then manage that now naturally, in a natural way, to help us to reduce the temperature of the body, but more naturally. Because if we force the fever to go down with medicine, then we don't allow the body to do the work that it has to do. Okay, so this is in terms of the process, but I miss a part of the process, and is that when the process, the infection is too complicated and not able to destroy the bacteria, only these special cells, what it happens is that when it sends this red alarm, it sends another type of cells that capture the information of what kind of pathogen it is and send that information to the lymphatic nodes in the lymphatic system. In the lymphatic nodes are the T cells and B cells, which are specialized cells to destroy the bacteria. And what it does is, with this messenger that are right here telling this is a pathogen number 35, then these different points, lymphatic points in the body, nodes, start looking for T cells and B cells that matches this specific pathogen and find a way in how they can encapsulate, trap, attach, and destroy with different mechanisms. So there are so many mechanisms that are triggered at the same time, but in general, this is how the intelligence of the body works to destroy bacteria, recruiting cells, specialized cells that are able only to focus in that particular pathogen, which makes the system efficient. From other point of view, I was reading as well a lot of articles when they said that this is kind of a weakness in our body, in the design of our bodies, because as they are very specialized, if they are only be able to attack the particular pathogen that is in the moment. But if we have many, maybe the situation will be complex because this level of specialization. But I'm not sure if we should say that the body has been designed not very in a good way, properly. Okay, so this is in regards to the physical functioning of the system. One last bit is to call attention when we have a flu, and more or less in the day 4 or 5, we start getting, the runny nose stopped, and now we start getting more like thick green, yellow tinge snot. That is the signal, that color and that texture is the signal that white cells were sent to this area of the body to start encapsulating the virus. So again, another invitation when we have a flu and we start getting through all this heavy, thick snot, just look at them and admire them for what they are doing, and just do a good farewell of your viruses that are going through outside of you through your snot. Okay, so the next section now is on regards to the mental, psychological, or even spiritual immune system. So I'm gonna share just a couple of insights that make us reflect how we have a psychological and spiritual immune system, what we can do to support, and even more, how maybe these weaknesses on this psychological immune system is highly related with immune conditions, especially the autoimmune conditions. And my motivation to include this topic in this episode is coming from my own experience. So, a couple of years ago, when I was facing the beginning of an autoimmune disease, I started looking from the causes from a medical perspective. So I was just reading medical articles around the causes of autoimmune diseases and how the immune conditions happen in the body. And what I found one article that it was in a very practical way started the first paragraph saying all the autoimmune or the immune conditions come only from two reasons. So there are only two reasons. The first one is that the body and the immune system of the body is weak. Maybe because lack of good diet, lack of sleep, or a poor lifestyle. So many things that we have done during life that now have a weak immune system. And when I read that, I thought, maybe I'm not doing everything well in terms of diet and lifestyle, but I feel here that that was not my case, that my issue was not related to diet. I read the second point from a medical perspective. So this paper was written talking about the physiological aspects of the immune conditions. And it says the body creates some mechanisms where it sees every single thing as a threat, every single piece of dust, everything sees as a threat, and start generating this process that I described physically in the immune response continuously, because all the time the body feels that it's being threatened. And those mechanisms, when they happen continuously, start creating a process of self-destruction of ourselves. So physically, a self-destruction of our own selves. But when I read that, I immediately, without any hesitation, I didn't relate that with my physical selves. I relate that with the word overreacting. And it rings a bell on my own behaviors and the experiences I was facing back at the time related with overreaction, but psychological overreaction. And that it was I think one of the main things that had happened in my life that it put me directly to answer or to look answers for my main question: how can I live my life without overreacting in the way I do to everything that happened to me? How can I do that? And it has been already many years ago, and it put me into this path of searching different ways to create a healthy psychological and spiritual immune system, because yes, it is exactly the same as the physical, and it brings again protection to ourselves. So this is like the motivation, and that is why I wanted to talk maybe just a little bit more about this relationship of the psychology and physiology. But before that, during these years of searching and looking for practices that help me to receive everything from outside, from the people and what people did in a different way, I came across with different techniques. All of them very valuable. All the techniques always have good intention behind. But I came across with some techniques that kind of build up a exact dictionary per illness and how it's related with a specific behavior in us or a psychological pattern in us. And even when at the beginning I was paying attention to that and trying to find what part of my psychological behavior was triggering my immune condition, I was not fully convinced because the human, as in physiology, the human body is so complex and so interrelated with many things that we cannot just be so narrow and say that when we have a problem of immune condition like a Crohn's disease, this is because this, and this in your behavior. I don't think that I think we commit a big mistake if we just focus on that and we narrow our view only into that. I think more the invite is that once we know that there is a relationship between our psychology and the immune condition that we have, and just having this willingness to research on by ourselves and to try to figure out what in my personality, what in my behavior, what in my patterns of thinking, what in my stored memories from the past is causing me this way of seeing life, and how can I work and master my mind to work on that, and then I can support my immune system. So I just wanted to make a note before I share what I'm gonna share, because what I'm gonna share now is like maybe some reasons why we have immune conditions, but this is just a short list of things, and it's a very narrow view of how to see a whole complex situation like an immune condition. So some people think that, and I kind of like this first part, he said that having poor physical barriers, which is the case of an immune condition, is highly related with having poor emotional barriers. And they thought that maybe one of the reasons for having poor emotional barriers can be low self-esteem, the lack of discipline in our life, the lack of order in our life. Also, the inability, we are unable to say no. And this is something that it triggers a lot of buttons when I was doing and reviewing all the things that was happening to me. The inability to say no is that we are not able to protect ourselves emotionally, even with work or with people when we overcommit to something. Also, some people say that is the inability, or we are unable to express anger. And here I find different points of view in how to see the situation with anger. This is a huge topic. It has been a huge one for me. So from one end, we have all these sorts of therapies that encourage you to go and release the hunger every time it's there. Because yes, we know that when we hold anger in our body, that stagnates and definitely create problems. But now is how we show that anger. Because anger is like fire that very easily, like when we have the fires in the mountains, spread and just destroy all the mountains. So we have, and then on the other end is like, no, you have to see how to manage your anger. But how come if this anger, when we hold the anger, harm us inside also? So this is why we have each of us find the proper tools to master ourselves and to find the middle way in how we see anger, how we express anger to protect ourselves, and then any seeds of anger that they are there as part of our overreacting response to everything that happens every day in our lives, not only for protection, but because we are overreacting, how we can transform those seeds of anger into something else, into a virtue that we can cultivate inside of ourselves. So I know that this is a long topic, a very deep topic about anger, but just touching those this surface of this topic, and maybe how this is related with the immune system. Um, the other thing that I found, which is quite beautiful, I like this, is the importance of the thymus. So in physiology, we saw that the thymus is the place where the T cells are created, and the T cells are the ones that destroy pathogens. So they are the ones that protect us, mainly produced here in the thymus. So in acupuncture, the state of the thymus, so how the thymus is in its health, reflect our will to be well. So if the thymus is weak, it means that we don't have sufficient will to be well. And I like this view of seeing, because this empower us and make us realize that we are, to some extent, the creator of our state, of our current state, our good, our health. Always remembering also that there is impermanence, that health can be one day and the other day is illness, but then it passes and it comes the other. So keeping this balance between knowing that there is illness, but always as well being curious and try to see what is the origin of my condition, is a very good middle way to start learning about more of ourselves. And I remember in the lymphatic episode, I mentioned about the tapping exercise in the thymus, or massaging this point to activate our immune system. And activate the immune system, our protection, our mother inside, to the point that we are able to laugh. Move it until you laugh. If it's painful, keep tapping gently, gently, gently. And with the days, you will see that you will be able to touch, massage, and laugh from that. Okay, so entering in the last bit. This is something nice that happened actually yesterday when I was summarizing what I wanted to talk about. And when I sat down and thought again, immune system, psychological immune system, immediately as well came to mind one book that I read many years ago called The Four Agreements. Many of you maybe are familiar with the book, from Don Miguel Ruiz. I will leave the link of his website here. And in that book, he says that there are four, if we at least do follow four agreements, that in words they are very easy, but in reality quite challenging, and it requires a lot of practice to follow them. If we follow only four agreements, then we can have an easy life. And I love that book. I actually now realize I read it only once, then I got that cards that I pick one every day and remind me one teaching from all these four agreements. And I haven't read the book again, so I think it will be a good exercise to read that again. But there are a lot of tools in the website that give you a glance of what these four agreements are. And now I forget them, but if I recall one, the first one is something about your word. So be gentle with your word, or be mindful with your word. Every time you're gonna speak, be very mindful about that. But the one that I remember immediately when I thought in the immune system, which is the only one that I remember of all the four, is the do not take anything personally. And it just matches perfectly this agreement. Do not take anything personally with what happened to me in terms of the being overreactive to everything that happened, everything what people told me, the views that others had on me and how those views affect me. And he has a very nice video. Also, we'll place the link here, but I'm gonna just summarize what in his video explained about this specific agreement. Do not take anything personally. And basically what he says is that everybody in the world, all of us, we live in our own world. This is the world that has been created in our mind because the experiences we had, because the situation we face, because we people we met, the people we live, if we have kids, if we don't have kids, every single thing that happened in our lives, it built up this world. So when we met someone else, we think that they are seeing this world, but they have a different world, so a different way to see the things and life. So every time a person tells us something, it's not about us. It's about the projection of what these people have in their world and how they think that everything should be. But it's not the case because it's not the same that I see in my world. And this creates actually a lot of conflicts, but at individual level, it creates this state of being affected by everything we receive. Then we become reactive to that. And we suffer and struggle a lot all the time because everything that we are receiving from outside. Kind of exactly the same that happened with an autoimmune condition, where our body is so frightened by everything. Everything is a threat and is generating this immune response over and over again, killing our own good cells in the body. This is more or less in general the teaching from Don Miguel Ruiz. I will leave the link there. But before I close, there is a practice. So at the beginning I was mentioning that for me now there is a beautiful connection between immune system and the martial arts. And when you notice and you see videos, and if you have the chance to practice one of them, you see that all the movements are heading you toward protection and obviously, as I said, to master your mind. But if there is some practice that I love and I learned maybe around like 8 years ago in a retreat, and it was it was not a martial art retreat, it was a Kundalini retreat. But the teacher was it was a great teacher and had many other tools of all the things that she had learned from before. And in that retreat, I did for first time this posture that I'm gonna show to you, which is very powerful in these moments when we feel we are losing our barriers. These times when we are not able to speak our truth, when we are not able to protect ourselves and we allow invaders to come inside. So this works both ways for our physical immune system and for our psychological immune system. So we can bring to mind when we are practicing the posture, we can bring to mind the particular physical condition we have, located in the particular area of the body, if it's in a particular area of the immune condition. But we can also bring in our mind when we are practicing the psychological aspect that is keeping us unable to protect ourselves. So we embrace and we do the exercise on the practice, bringing the image of I'm cutting this pattern, I'm able to say no, I am able to express my anger and then transform that for good. So the practice is you can better, I think, if we stand up. So I'm gonna stand up here. We cross our hands in front and with breathing. So we are gonna do the exercise with breathing because this is consciously in the way we are working with our mind. So the breathing is key to be the companion of this practice. So we breathe in and exhale. Breathe in, breathe in, and we finish with a gentle mother hug to feel the love that is behind that. We are not cutting the patterns of our life. We are not cutting or stopping our illness with hate. We are cutting with determination and strength and then with a lot of love. So embodiment in the practices is something that really helps us to feel and see and discover more about our bodies. So this has been a very long video, but I definitely want to close the video with the teaching from Don Miguel Ruiz, in particular on this agreement. Do not take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinion and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. I find it very, very useful and powerful to read every now and again. Okay, I leave this video for now here. I hope you find some of the things useful and see you in the next video of Mindful Physiology. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.